Bonjour et bienvenue.
Good morning and welcome to the International Press Theatre.
Today we have with us the members of the Canadian Debate Production Partnership who will be talking about the themes and formats of the upcoming Federal Leaders Debate. Bonjour et
Hello, and with us today we have the Canadian Debate Production Partnership that will discuss debates with us. We have Jennifer Maguire from the CBC, Luce Julien from Radio-Canada, Cassian Boston from Global News, and Anton Kashani from CTTV News, and Alexandria Shannon from the Toronto Star.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. We're here today to give you some more detail into the debates that are happening very soon in Gatineau. It's been part of our commitment to the Debate Commission that we open up the process of the debates more fully and give Canadians some visibility into the process that happened largely behind closed doors in the past. So what you see here are representatives of the Debate Partnership Group. We are equal partners in the production of the debate and in the funding of the debate on the English side, but of course this year it's done in partnership with the Debate Commission, and there's another framework around some of the things that we've committed to do in the context of that. For us, debates are a really important moment in our democracy. We've done our best to create a format and an experience that will give Canadians access to politicians facing off against each other, but also responding to questions in the moment and moving off prepared scripts. There are other opportunities for that, but the idea is to have a moment where Canadians see them live, answering themes that we have determined are relevant and important to the campaign. Our intent today is to give you some visibility into the format in both French and English. We will be announcing the editorial themes and answering your questions. And then after that, we will bring representatives from all the parties here to do various draws to draw for positioning in the debates. So order, lectern, dressing rooms, all of the things that would have happened behind closed doors, we're going to do for you today in public so you understand how we make decisions we make in terms of the staging of the debate. This year, the debate will be very much people-focused, so it will be done in front of a live audience. And we have many, many distribution partners. We'll tell you a little bit more about that today. So in 2015, when the combined television networks worked together to reach 11 million Canadians, it's our hope that we can reach even further with the added distribution partners we have as an extended reach of this partnership group. So with that, I'll pass it over to Luce, and we'll be very quick with opening remarks, and we'll get to your questions.
Hello, bonjour tout le monde.
Good morning, everyone. As Jennifer was saying, for us, the Leaders' Debate is a key moment. It's very important for Canadians. So we're very happy to present this debate in partnership with Le Devoir, La Presse, and L'Actualité. And this is a precedent. We've never had a French debate that will be so widely distributed. The philosophy behind the preparation of this debate is focused on the concerns of Canadians. And in fact, on the French side, we'll tell you more about the English side later, but we received more than 1,700 questions that we've all read. We read all of the questions, and we prepared the debate around the concerns expressed in these questions by Canadians. This is a very interesting exercise for us. And as Jennifer was saying, the leaders will be in front of a live audience in the room at the Canadian Museum of History. So this is rather important. There'll also be remote citizens gatherings a little bit across the country. So now we'll discuss the themes of the debate in French.
Anton Kashani is from CTV, and he will now run through the debate format on the English debate, and then we'll come back for the French debate.
So the driving factor in terms of putting the format together was that the debates be fair and equitable in terms of the time and the time given to the leaders, and that has been a driving part of us putting this format together. The English debate will be in basically 5 themed blocks, so the 2 hours will be carved up into 5 major pieces, each of which will have one of the editorial themes, and each of those blocks has one question from a Canadian, as we talk about this being a Canadians' debate. debate. Questions will have been solicited from Canadians right across the country, and so in every section on the editorial theme, there will be a question from a Canadian to that theme. There will be a question then from one of our journalist moderators, and also then each section will contain one leader-on-leader question. So a leader will ask a question of another leader, and that will then lead to debate. And that's basically the format that repeats itself throughout the 2-hour debate period.
I will mention, as Luce mentioned before, we had asked Canadians to submit questions to the debate, and on the English side, we had 8,900 questions from Canadians submitted to these debates. Luce.
Alors, donc, le débat.
So the French debate will also have 5 themes. There will be a question from a Canadian included in each segment of the debate, and then there will be an open debate between 3 of the 6 leaders. There will be another open debate between the remaining 3 leaders, and there will be questions in quick succession from a journalist, Patricia Cloutier, Patrice Cardinal, and others. And then once the 5 segments are over, there will be an open debate between all 6 leaders. So for the themes,
Do you want to?
Yeah, sure. Alors, pour les thèmes du débat.
for the themes of the debate in French, it'll be economy and finance, environment and energy. I'd like to say right away, these themes will not be in this order. These are just in alphabetical order. So economy and finances, environment and energy, identity, ethics and government, foreign policy and immigration, and services to citizens.
Before I throw to Alexandria for the themes in English, I will let you know that the parties found out the themes for the debates today. We briefed them just before we came on stage. They do not get to know the order of the themes in the debate until 3 days prior to the debate. So for the themes in English, they are.
Thank you. The methodology behind choosing these themes was largely a combination of journalistic acumens and the data-driven insights that were largely derived from the open source polling data. With that, the 5 English themes from which the questions will be derived in alphabetical order are affordability and economic insecurity, environment and energy, Indigenous issues, leadership in Canada and on the global stage, polarization, human rights, and immigration.
Okay, one of the things that we did want to talk about briefly is just what we think is different about how this debate was produced. Starting today, for the first time ever, and I've been involved in other debates, we actually have committed as a group of media organizations to do all we can to amplify knowledge about the debates. So all of the moderators have shot promos and commercials, which all networks have agreed to air and position digitally in their print. So the word about the debate will be quite large, and the distribution of the debate this year is something different as well. And I'll throw to my colleague Kenton to talk about that.
Thank you, thank you. And just before we get to the distribution, the live portion is going to be key. Tickets are still available to come and watch the event. If you go to the website for the Debate Commission, you can get tickets. That's open until Wednesday, so that's important for everyone to feel a part of this. Distribution, all of the partners of the CDBP will put the debate on all of our platforms, television, radio, and online. There's a long list of partners that are currently with us, and we are sure others will come along as we get closer to the debate. It's available in ASQ, and this is important to every Canadian that you can feel a part of this debate. It's available in ASL, LSQ, closed captioning. You can watch and hear the debate also using described video. This will be available on all of our platforms, as we say, in various languages as well, English and French, to state the obvious, Cantonese, Mandarin, Arabic, Punjabi. Also Indigenous languages, we have a number of those, Plains Cree, we have Inuktitut, East Cree, we also have Ojibwe, and also YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So this is really a debate that hits all platforms. Digital will be a big part of this as well.
The Commission will also make available the live debate for viewing parties. So there is a bit of a process, but everyday Canadians, if they want to do their own sort of tragically hip party around the federal leadership debate, can view the debate, and they can get information about that through the Commission website. Okay. Anything else from? I think that's it. We wanted to keep the remarks pretty tight, and we'll happy to answer any questions.
Great. Le temps des questions.
Now we have time for questions.
Your hand, and one question, one follow-up. Bruce Campion-Smith, Toronto Star.
Hi, good morning. Just a question about, I guess, the format. If my math is right, so you're allowing about 25 minutes for each topic. Is that about right?
It's probably less than that. I think when we had to add the sixth leader, it decreased. We were at 22 and a half at one point. We're probably actually, so we're around 20. We're about 20, 22 minutes per segment, and we've had to accommodate six leaders, obviously, within the process.
I'm just wondering, but of course, the nice thing about debates is kind of that freewheeling debate among them all. And I'm just wondering, are you confident that, given that's kind of at the end of it, that you're going to have enough time in each topic for that kind of?
By creating the leader-on-leader question and leader-on-leader debate, it creates a chance for, obviously, an expanded debate at a topic of their choosing. But the question from Canadians and the question from from a journalist, also each leader has a chance to answer and to be involved in kind of answering. We think it will work. I mean, the time is tight, but the point here is to make sure that they all get their voice, obviously.
Just a question about the costing, and I don't know if you have a budget for the two debates and whether that is borne completely by the media organizations or split.
So the way the process worked, the Commission had an RFP to bid on the debates. We, as a partnership group, were one of the groups that bid on the debate. So there are some costs that are borne by the Commission. So, for example, the translation into multiple languages, that would be borne by the Commission. But the production costs for the television event itself are split between the media groups partnered here. We're still actually dealing with what it is actually going to cost. Believe it or not, by the time various decisions were made about who is producing it and when, quite tight in terms of television production. So we're still finalizing what the actual costs are.
Mike Lecouture, Global Television.
So I just wanted to ask, I mean, I can see by the English and French that there are very different but also similar topics. How did we decide which one in the French, which one in the English?
Yes, so this was quite a collaborative process. We had committees made up with people from the various partnership organizations and other people feeding in. So we had an editorial committee on the English side that went away to do work. We looked at polling data, we looked at themes in the campaign, we looked at various things to come up with a list of issues, and then finalizing that against the format that we have. Anything else, Alexandria? You were on that.
No, it was largely an exercise that was done independent of the editorial committees in terms of one for French and one for English. So it truly was an organic exercise.
But you actually had members from the French and the English together. The teams coordinated.
There certainly was collaboration. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And given how many leaders we're going to have, and most of you up there understand what watchability for TV is going to be like. My colleague mentioned, the freewheeling, open debate. How worried are you that with six leaders up there that it will just be a free-for-all, out-of-control mess that nobody can get anything from?
So this is why we balance the freewheeling face-to-face with some directed questioning from both Canadians and the journalists. So we're balancing both in the context of the production. The time is tight. It will move as a production. Six leaders up on stage with a 2-hour format is quite ambitious in terms of how the production will move. And if you talk to our production teams, they will tell you it's incredibly complex. What I would say is we've tried to balance both. But if we could, would we cheat and get a little bit more time all around? Of course we would. but that's not on the table for today.
I would also just add the flip side of having so many leaders is that it has to be very structured, and it will force everybody, and it's forced us as a group to come up with a rundown that really is focused on the debate. But I will say, at the same time, none of us like a debate where you can't hear anybody because everyone is speaking over one another, and that's kind of the balance here.
Okay, Manon Cornelier, Le Devoir.
Yes, I only.
Le Devoir.
Did you speak French? Okay. I will ask it in English because anybody can answer. So, has it been a consideration when Mr. Bernier was included to give him less time than the others because his party have never proved anything to anybody?
So the decision about which parties participated in the debate was the Commission decision. It wasn't the decision of the CDPP and Broadcast Group. And our obligation was to create a debate where all leaders participated equitably. So, the why Mr. Bernier question appropriately goes to the Commission, but our job was to make sure they were all represented fairly in the debate.
Y a-t-il d'autres questions? Yes?
Are there any other questions? I have a question for you in French. Why do we choose these themes in English and French that are different? They're different from in the two languages. They're somewhat different simply because, well, this isn't the first debate where we have different sensitivities and subjects that are different in the various publics and audiences, and that is why we have two editorial committees. The French debate has its own committee with its own partners as well. So, as I said earlier, we received 1,700 questions. We're really discussing Canadians' concerns here. So we decided that, yes, some themes would be a bit different in both languages, but if you look at the debate overall in history, it's always been the case. We'll have more specific questions that will concern francophones, and we always bear this in mind. In terms of the format, we decided that it wouldn't be a one-size-fits-all approach. We decided last year that we had a debate for the Quebec election that was quite successful. So we decided to partially take some of the elements of that debate, and we want avoid people talking over each other. So we looked at trios. Some leaders are less comfortable in French than others. So as I said earlier, in the French debate, there'll be two groups of three, which will allow each of them to express themselves on all the themes.
Yes?
Beatrice from the Hill Times. Just wondering about the questions from the Canadian. Are those directed specifically at the leaders, or are they more general policy questions, the ones that have been chosen?
So we did a call out for questions based on what Canadians care about, and those were the submissions that we got, some 8,900 in English. Then we went through all the questions to try to, one, look at the themes and feed that into our understanding of what Canadians cared about, but also pick questions that would map the themes of the debate, match the themes of the debate, and they will be directed to, they will be directed, some live within the production, some recorded, some in the audience, to the leaders.
So not specifically, like you weren't specifically tailored to a specific
Not
leader.
to each leader, but to the theme. Right, that's right.
Manon?
In the French debate, there's nothing about Indigenous peoples here. Will we be discussing this? Because it's nice to talk about service to citizens, but we should mention them as well. I won't tell you where it'll be mentioned, but of course Indigenous issues will be mentioned in various themes.
Any more questions? Yes?
Rachel Emmanuel at Politics. I know you mentioned that the decision to allow Maxime Bernier into the debates wasn't your decision, it was the Commission. I'm just wondering if you received any feedback from Canadians on that decision at all, however.
We have not. We have not directly.
Y a-t-il
Any other questions?
Sorry. So, given how debates have sort of expanded recently, you look at some of the conventions south of the border where they have 2 different nights for that type of thing. Was there any consideration put into that, given that 6 people on stage could get, anyways, a little out of control with the tight time?
So this process, in terms of the official debates, the Commission decided on 2 debates, one French and one English. So our bid on our participation in this process was really for two debates. As you can appreciate, we're also negotiating. You negotiate with the parties, but you're also negotiating with television networks to get access to time. And so it was felt that 2 hours was the right window. One, for Canadians to be sort of engaged and watch it, but two, some of the the complications in terms of getting the time on the various broadcast networks.
I'd add one of the points that went into the process of the debate was that these are events for Canadians to watch, and major events in the electoral calendar, and so trying to ask Canadians to watch multiple nights asks them to pay even more attention, but having 2 kind of nights, one in English, one in French, really becomes a focus point in the campaign.
That's right.
Follow-up, did the addition of Maxime Bernier add an additional hurdle that you needed to sort of adjust to on the fly as you were planning?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the format team had to go back and rework the format because obviously one has to accommodate an additional leader, but that's the job that we undertook to produce the debates, and that's what you have to do.
That's right.
Were there major sort of issues that you said, okay, well, this format now no longer works because we have 6?
We definitely have had to make adjustments in the format, but we were given obviously we were following the news like you. We knew that it was a possibility, so we had contingencies around that. But we've had to adjust the set, we've had to adjust the format. There were adjustments that had to be made for 6 versus 5. Absolutely.
I mean, at its simplest, 2 hours divided by 5 is different than 2 hours divided by 6.
Manon?
Does the English network will carry the French debate, and the French debate being carried on all the partners?
Yes, and this was true back in 2015 on the news channels. So yes, the French debate will be carried on the English news network and on CTV as well, and LDA. Yeah.
Mais sur RDI, CNN.
CTV, the French debate on CTV News Channel.
That's right. Yeah.
And then, of course, the English debate on CTV.
It's the first time, isn't it?
No, we carried the previous debates also on CTV News Channel.
Okay.
So we've used our English national news networks to make sure that Canadians are exposed to the French debate coast to coast.
It's not just CTV, it's CTV News.
It's the CTV News Channel, correct.
News World, the News Network.
Correct.
Y a-t-il d'autres questions?
Any other questions?
Then I will introduce Leon Marr. He's the spokesperson for the Canadian Debate Production Partnership. I pass the torch to him. He'll be handling the draw. 5-minute pause. And then Mr. Marr will be taking over.
Thank you.